Well, we have some big Doctor Who news today, and they're already spinning it in all of the woke ideology places where Doctor Who is still spoken as if it's a good thing. But there's two big components to the announcement that the BBC made, and I think that they waited until they had some confirmation that something new was going to happen with Doctor Who before they officially announced this, because it's something we've been knowing has been happening for a long, long time, and it's finally 100% true. The Disney deal is dead. They're out. We'll get into this news in just a moment, what it means for the future of Doctor Who for real without all the spin. So please hit the like and subscribe button and join us here as we talk about all things Doctor Who and science fiction. This is your real science fiction news. I really appreciate you guys being here. My name is John Delarose, and I am a science fiction author myself. And so I would love for you to check out my Valiant Frontiers. If you like my analysis on everything, if you like what I do on the channel, check this out. I wrote a full trilogy in advance to get to you because I'm very, very excited about the characters I created and the world I've got going. It all starts with the Soul Catcher, the Safe Place, and then Time Bomb in Valiant Frontiers. The crew of the EAS Valiant is out exploring the galaxy, finding really cool things, sense of wonder. This is the real science fiction that you don't get from Doctor Who anymore. So check it out. It's in the description below. Really appreciate you guys for supporting the channel, and thanks for being here. So here's the announcement. The BBC announced that Disney is officially out as a partner for Doctor Who, along with the 2026 Christmas special. Like I said, it's pretty weird timing because they've been holding on to this for a while. If you've looked at all the interviews they've been giving over the past years, it's been a big sweeping through the media, pretending like nothing's wrong with Doctor Who. We're committed to finding a partner. We're trying our hardest. You knew behind the scenes that they were working to try to get Disney back and get Disney on board. Unfortunately, with what Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa did to the franchise over the last couple of years, Disney knows that it's just sunk. Nobody's going to be coming back for this. Without sweeping changes to Doctor Who that erases all of this crap, you're not going to get it back again. You're not going to have viewers tuning in again. They tried to find that coveted modern audience, like all of these shows do, by replacing all the characters you love with, of course, the tokenized versions of everything that we have in every single identity checkbox category that's out there, thinking that, that like 0.5% of transgender people are going to come in and sweep through everything and all watch it and support this. I guess that's what they were thinking. It didn't happen. Obviously, it was the lowest rated time in Doctor Who history. Nobody was watching this whatsoever. And that spun throughout Disney. So Disney put a substantial investment into this. $13.3 million per episode. When you go over 26 episodes with that, that's a big amount of money. So let's total that for you guys. $345 million plus for these, quote, 2 seasons. Now, I put it in quotes like this because the 2 seasons was really 1 season. I mean, they were 8 episodes each, 16 episodes, and a couple of specials. That's not like 2 seasons historically. That's 1 season historically. And then they're going to get the war between land and the sea thrown in on top of this, which I'm sure is going to do even worse. And I'm sure Disney is not even liking. Now, of course, we know that they've delayed that, and there's been a bunch of reshoots and things like that that have made Russell T Davies very, very angry with what went on. So I'm actually surprised that he's coming back because I have heard that Russell T Davies is going to be out. This might be his last swan song. They might have given him something on this. Let's see what the BBC said first before we get into any of the conjecture here. So last week, Jane Tranter was obfuscating about the problems of the show. This is what she said 1 week ago. This is the producer from Bad Wolves. She said, the plans for Doctor Who are simply this. The BBC and BBC Studios had a partnership with Disney for 26 episodes. We are currently 21 episodes down into that 26-episode run. We have another 5 episodes of a spin-off series, War Between Land and the Sea, to come. At some point after that, decisions will be made together. At some point after that, decisions will be made together. You see that even as this is looming, even as they know Disney is leaving the partnership, they're still saying, decisions will be made, like it hasn't been. This is exactly what they do for the last couple of years. We learned early that Ncuti Gatwa was going to be out as the Doctor. They kept saying, no decisions have been made as of yet. Decisions will be made after the run. Well, it leaked out that he actually was getting out in the middle of the run. And it turns out that they were just running this like media campaign, just saying everything's fine. I see this really, really often with these people. It's not just here. It's like, everything's good. Everything's fine. The ratings don't tell the whole picture. The comic book industry does the exact same thing. The the science fiction book market does the exact same thing. Disney Star Wars does the exact same thing. They always just lie and obfuscate. But if everything's actually going fine, they don't need to lie and obfuscate. They just go out there and they go, the ratings, we hit 13 million views last night. Congrats. We're renewed for 18 more seasons. You're very, very happy when you have real information. That's good. That's happy. You go out there and you say that. You don't kind of try to spin doctor things like Jane Tranter's doing right here. But now reading between the lines, look at this. It's a 60-year-old franchise. It's been going for 20 years nonstop since we brought it back in 2005. You'd expect it to change, wouldn't you? This is it, right? Things are going to be changing. Nothing continues the same always. It shouldn't continue the same always. It will change in some form or another. But the one thing we can all be really clear of is that the Doctor will be back, and everyone, including me, including us, just has to wait patiently to see when and who. Very, very interesting. And who is a interesting comment as well. So this is foreboding, and this actually came last week before the announcement this week. So she clearly knew what was going to be happening with this because they don't just suddenly have an announcement about a Christmas special coming in 2026 when that's the case. Now, this is what the BBC went out with today. Actually, again, Jane Tranter was lying about Disney because they weren't going to be making decisions after the run. The decision's already been made. We learned this a long time ago. Disney's not been happy for this entire time during the process of this. They were making comments even after season 1 that they weren't happy with the way that it was going. And it was too late because season 2 had already filmed at that point, which is why I say it's really just one season. They filmed all that way in advance and it was all done. So it is something that was done together, and it looked like one season. It looked like one show. And they pretended like it was separate to make it look like it's longer and more successful. So that's what they do. So this is what Lindsay Salt says from BBC. She said that Disney's a terrific global partners and collaborators over the past 2 seasons and for the upcoming The War Between the Land and the Sea. Very corporate statement. The BBC remains fully committed to Doctor Who, which continues to be one of our most loved dramas. And we are delighted that Russell T Davies has agreed to write us another spectacular Christmas special for 2026. We can assure fans the Doctor is not going anywhere, and we will be announcing plans for the next series in due course, which will ensure the TARDIS remains at the heart of the BBC. Very, very interesting. So there will be a special. It's not going to be a show. I had speculated that Doctor Who would not actually return until 2027 or 2028. And this sets it at the tail end of 2026, like a week before it ends. Very, very close. However, it does make sense if you can get a special going. You can film that pretty quickly and get that rather than like an entire series. That takes a lot longer. There was no way they were going to get the show going. But we'll see what happens in this because we know that what was tacked on at the end of last season was Billie Piper turning into the Doctor, being regenerated into it, which was ridiculous and stupid. And I don't know how Russell T Davies is going to write his way out of that box. But I guarantee you it's going to be upsetting to fans. It's going to be the same thing that we've seen all these years for the past few years with his return into identity politics and into nonsensical fantasy storytelling rather than science fiction. That's what I expect to come, more of the same. So, but I've also heard, and I covered this earlier in the week, that Russell T Davies is going to be out as showrunner and that he's very, very mad. He feels like he's been censored lately and the like. So he might have agreed to do this as like one last swan song, or alternatively, he did write a season 3 in advance of this. Maybe they took his kind of plot ideas and like redid it into a Christmas special real quick and then added some Billie Piper elements, or they're doing it. Or maybe it even hasn't been written yet because they do say that he's agreed to write us another Christmas special, so maybe it hasn't been done yet, which is pretty interesting. But I think that's going to be the end of Russell T Davies on this. I think this is going to be his last swan song that goes out there. They don't have Disney anymore as a partner. It's only the BBC now. Very, very interesting that they swept Disney's withdrawal into this to try to announce things. And so like I was saying, there are a bunch of woke elements out there who are already flooding social media saying, oh, all the haters are going to say that this is the end of the Disney development, but what they announced is Doctor Who's returning and it's really just doing fine. And that's the commentary that's going out, and that's exactly why BBC announced it this way. They swept the Disney thing under the rug very, very intentionally. They wanted this to not be news that was going to get across everybody's desk. They didn't want everybody just talking about that today. They wanted to try to pivot to, oh, Doctor Who's returning. Everything's fine. There's a Christmas special 2026. We're going on as normal. But it's not normal. We've got a whole full year of nothing with Doctor Who, which has not happened in a long, long time. And this is something that, of course, they had because they didn't have this plan. They weren't planning for Disney to exit. They were planning for Disney to continue. Jane Tranter told me a couple years ago that Gatwa was contracted through 2029. So they expected that this was going to go on forever, that everybody would be on board with this, that people would be coming in on this, and that's not what's happening. So there's turmoil behind the sets. Davies is not happy. He thinks that there's a culture of censorship. He's not going to be able to push his political messaging anymore, which is all he cares about. He's going to be probably exiting after this whole Christmas special gets written, and that'll be the end of it. And they'll be relaunching Doctor Who, like they said, soon at some point, and they're going to have a new showrunner. They're going to have a new doctor. It's probably not going to be Billy Piper, thank God. And then we'll see what happens from that point. But again, if they don't do a wholesale change, if they don't do everything differently and actually just reset stuff so we can just get this out of our whole systems and forget it ever happened, then they're really never going to bring Doctor Who back to its former glory. That's all it is. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Do check out my Valiant Frontiers in the description below. It's great sci-fi, guys. I appreciate you being here. We'll be back.